Alright, here's an update of what I'm up to. Getting ready for the epoxy floors. So, first things first, I've got all the kit, the basic gray, and then also the clear coat, and then over 200 pounds of chips. So I've got, I'm going to do a custom mixture. I got several names here. So it's like Cape Cod is the most common. That's gray and black and white, and then stone gray is pretty similar minus the white, and then charcoal's a little darker. They actually didn't have all the Cape Cod I needed. This is a pretty big job, so usually you sell like one box and I needed 4. Here's an example of the chips that just got caught on my truck when I was loading it. So there's all the paint chips. But before I get to that, I need to repair some cracks, and so I'll show that stuff later, but that's what I got right here. This is crack repair epoxy, and here's all the cracks that I've chased. And basically what I mean by that is right where they start, I come through and I've been V'ing them out, you know, notching them down, leaving a V right there. You can see that. Just kind of relieving and getting any loose stuff up. I'm going to come through and wire brush all the loose stuff out. So I got a little bit more cracks than I'd hoped for when we did the foundation, but the main reason for that is we didn't do any relief joints or, you know, any cuts or anything. They did what's called a phantom joint, which was like they did the whole thing and then they come through and they put just a little cut in it, and then they smoothed back over it with the cream of the concrete. So there was absolutely no splits, no cracks, no reliefs, no nothing. And then it's supposed to crack small, basically where they relieve it. And it was fairly close. Like this one was a little bit off. It was really supposed to come like this one. Like this one was perfect, and it came right to a cross right here. So this was actually the phantom joint they cut. And all that really looks like is like this one over here is the only one I have left, and I waited on purpose to just show the before and after. So like all that phantom joint looks like it's just a tiny little crack. But because I'm gonna epoxy the floor, I'm gonna open those up. So like this tiny little crack right here will end up looking like this by the time I V it, open it all up. So you can see, if I can get to focus, it's pretty dusty in here. So you can see, you know, I V'd all these, I V'd all these, I V'd all these. V'd. There's a pretty big one over here I V'd. Got them all, you can see the dust and everything. I got them all opened up. What I've been using for that, I use 2 things. One, this grinder with just a cup wheel, like a diamond cup wheel. That thing cuts in there quick. And I was also using this little, for the smaller ones, a little die grinder with a little diamond wheel on it. So I'm gonna just show real quick with my mask off how quick it goes, and then I'm gonna put my mask back on and finish it, and then start cleaning, and then start mixing epoxy. So you can't hear me if I wear my respirator. So here's what that looks like just real quick. Busting out the loose stuff. It's a little hard to do with one hand, so that's kind of the process. You see I did almost a foot right there in just a few seconds. So it goes quick, but it's messy, and you know, you really need to have a respirator. So I'm gonna get my respirator on and wrap that up, and then I'll come check back in when I'm doing the epoxy. So now that I've got everything all ground out, I'm just running through with the wire brush, and that's really breaking loose a lot of stuff. Like if you see right here, let me get all that out of there. You know, just knocking it out. Anything that's loose is going to be gone. So it doesn't take long. gonna button that up, and then I'm gonna sweep the whole floor, everything really good, and then I'm gonna come through and vacuum out all the cracks with the shop vac. Hello, friend. Hello, friend. All right, it's morning after, actually. I got all this stuff mixed up and put in. It was pretty late, so I just rushed inside. But basically, it's this Sicador or something. Sicador 32 high mod LPL. It's 2-part. This one was kind of like a clear epoxy mix, and then this one was kind of like the gray. So I mixed them 50-50, makes 1 gallon actual material. I put quite a bit of sand in there, and then this is what that turns out like. I noticed it did shrink up a little bit, so I may do I'm gonna grind the whole floor, and then I may do a little bit of a top coat. We'll see. But it's hard, and it's stuck like really good. Like even this little splatter piece right here, I can barely get off, and that didn't get pushed in or anything. So I hit all the spots, the little spots from where they anchored the wall, all the cracks, everything that was opened up. So it's quite a bit, actually. I put what I thought was going to be a little extra in, but yeah, for sure it definitely ran down in the crack a little bit. So I may do a little touch up like here. Oh yeah, that one. So I'm going to grind it all down, and then probably do a little bit more, and then I'll probably just grind those last few spots by hand. I'm going to go grab the machine, but the machine I've only got for one day. So if I grind the whole floor and then come back and do a little bit of detail work with the angle grinder with the diamond cup on it, probably that's the way to do it in my opinion. Yeah, so some of it definitely fell in the floor. So that's the update right now. Yeah, that grinder is pretty heavy. Too heavy to lift by myself, but I got it with the machine. Get it right in there. Alright, real quick update. I got the shop vac hooked up to the grinder. This is the grinder. I just did one tiny little pass, just kind of learn how to use it. So it's pretty hefty. It's real heavy, big old thing. But this was just like a couple minute pass. You know, it's grinding down the epoxy, cutting into the floor. So I'm gonna get a little more familiar with it, just initially by doing all the epoxy cracks, and then I'll come through and really start doing passes on the floor. It's probably gonna take pretty much all day. Well, I did my first little section here. You can see that probably took 20 minutes. I'm just gonna sweep it right now, so haven't seen anything. So yeah, it looks pretty good. There's a couple little low spots, but I'm really confident that'll fill with the epoxy. So I'm just gonna kind of sweep it up. The machine's pretty neat. It doesn't make a big, huge dust cloud. But I think I may give the regular angle grinder a try, because this epoxy, I thought it would grind really fast, but actually this stuff is no joke. It's pretty hard, and does take some time to grind. But yeah, I mean, really, shoot, that crack's pretty much gone in most of the spots where it was full. Can't really, maybe can kind of tell. Yeah, just barely right there. So looking pretty good, but I'm going to give the regular angle grinder a try to see if I can just knock off the high stuff. Looking back, I probably would have been a lot neater with the epoxy, just now knowing how hard it is to grind. Yep, that epoxy is just really hard to grind. So I'm gonna go back to the big machine. But, well, that's good as far as expectations of quality, but it's gonna take a little while to grind that down. I'm glad I got this big machine. Alright, so I got all these cracks ground down, and I'm just doing a little filler. You can see I'm just really doing a little skim coat. Now that I see how long it takes to grind it, just filling the lows, not leaving a whole lot of extra material, because it takes too long to grind a lot of the high stuff off. I should have put much less material, and I'm just shooting it out of a little water bottle with the little pop top. It's working better. All right, well, it's 3 o'clock. So far I've spent pretty much the whole day grinding the cracks, and I just did my light little tiny top coat. So I really got this very light just to fill the little imperfections. Pretty much worked with it like Bondo. It's just like Bondo, except it's a little runny and it's hard to grind. So it looks like it's smeared all over, but that's actually just really put in the crack and then feathered out really small. So I'm about to grind the whole room. It's 3 o'clock. I'll see how long it takes to grind 2,000 feet minus what I was already kind of grinding for the cracks. We'll update. All right, it is 6:15. So I pretty much ran through the grinding in about roughly 3 hours. And that didn't include here where I had already ground for the cracks. You know, I just kind of skipped around those. And I might come through and do a little bit more. Like you can see, this is a pretty good example. This is really thoroughly down, and this still has a little bit of glazy cream kind of. So I may take another couple passes. But the reason I couldn't see that is, like, here's what it looks like before I sweep up. I just swept that. But here, you know, this is kind of how it looks when you're grinding. It's just spiral, you know, grinder marks and dust. And you can't really see the condition of the concrete until you really sweep it off. So I just swept this, but I kind of have to sweep it twice. So, and I buzzed around the edges with the grinder, you know, the angle grinder. Got a lot of scraping, a lot more cleaning. I'm going to take another pass over these. This stuff is finally getting pretty, it's not quite dry yet. It's getting pretty close to dry. So that's the update. Well. So I thought about it last night, and I realized, you know, I wasn't quite happy with the how scored up it was. So I ran that grinder over the whole thing again. I spent another 4 hours on it. And it's still super dusty. I had to run the machine back, but in the few spots where I swept, which is like right here, man, it's really tough to get a shot at it. But here's kind of the finish is just super dull. It's really got the aggregate exposed. There's a couple little spots that are still maybe a little creamy, but it's really roughed up. And you can see it's kind of opened up the pores of the concrete. So that's what it really needed. It just took a lot more. And what I did was I cleaned off the epoxy from the bottom of the cutters on the machine, and then I flipped the blades over so it cut them kind of like in reverse. So I've done like a couple spots, spot sweeping. You know, you can see really exposed to a little less exposed, but definitely still porous looking and rough. And so I'm good with that. I'm gonna call in, you know, some help to do the first layer of epoxy. I probably won't have this all cleaned until tomorrow, because I'm gonna sweep it all out, and then I'm gonna vacuum it out, then I'm gonna blow the corners out, and then probably just before they come, I'll probably blow it out again. But there is the big dusty update. There's probably another 30 pounds of concrete dust in here, and there's a lot I've already swept out.